Hello, and welcome to the three-headed production of the ultimate but brief Canadian history experience.
Today we will walk you through some of the most important events in Canadian history and give you a brief overview of how these events have affected Canada.
Our team of professional actors have reenacted these events to give you an insight into what happened on these great days. Our first event will be the Summit Series of 1972.
McGuire has it on that wing. Here's a shot. Henderson made a wild stab towards Bell. Here's another shot. Right by the score. Henderson has scored for Canada. Henderson right in front of the net. And the fans of the team are going wild. Henderson right in front of the coach and goal. 34 seconds left in the game. An absolute mob-scene over Paul Henderson.
The 1972 Canada vs. Russia hockey series was important to Canada. It brought the country together behind a common goal: to beat the Russians at our national sport.
The Canadian team had some of the best players from the NHL. Team Canada was very overconfident, and they thought they had the best team in the world.
They were good, but they were not even close to being in the same shape as the Russian squad, which would be tough because the Russians trained in the off-season, something almost unheard of by the NHL players.
That's right, Devin. Team Canada was not prepared for how good Russia was. They only won one of the first 4 games. It would be okay, though. They would fight back and tie the series in Game 7, 3 wins and 1 tie each.
It ended up coming down to Game 8, the last game of the series. This could potentially prove that Canada was not the hockey superstar that they thought they were.
The game was tied 5-5 late in the third period, and the Soviet officials told the Canadians that if the series ended in a tie, they would claim victory on a goal differential.
It was still tied with less than a minute left in the game when Paul Henderson took Peter Mahovlich on the ice and skated towards the net. Phil Esposito took a hard shot that the Soviet goaltender couldn't handle, and there was a rebound right to Henderson's stick.
Paul Henderson slipped the puck past the goalie with 34 seconds left in Game 8 to win the series. This goal is possibly the most famous goal scored in hockey to date.
The new defeat of the Canadians proved that the training regimen of Canadian hockey players would have to improve if they wanted to stay on top of the hockey world, and that the USSR was to be respected by the international hockey community and their players were proven good enough to play in the NHL.
Hold up, where might you be going?
I'm going to the Goldfield, Klondike, to look at your gold field.
We don't carry pistols in Canada.
I'll do what I want.
Let's go.
Sam Benfield Steele of Purebrook, Canada West, is well known for bringing the RCMP to the northwest of Canada under the name of the NWMP.
And, as you just saw in the Heritage Moment, Sam Steele was also recognized for using his power in the Northwest Mounted Police to maintain the law and order in northern Canada.
If the Heritage Moment didn't prove how determined Sam Steele was on protecting northern Canada, then I've got a statistic for you. In the year of 1898, in the boomtown of Dawson City, there was no murders and there was only a few major thefts, making it one of the most lawful gold rushes in history.
Sam's laws kept the northern part of Canada free of crime for the most part. It also played a positive effect in the development of the Canadian Northwest, as, with all of the laws that Steele had placed, it kept northern Canada free of crime and made the country more appealing to others.
Operation Overlord, commencing.
Full-scale attack on the beach
To attack these German positions.
for victory!
Canadian achievements on D-Day were remarkable. The capture of Juno Beach was accomplished by a group of very ordinary Canadian boys. These young men had accomplished what many had thought to be impossible.
That's right, Devin. On Monday, June 5th, 1944, the men of the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division and the 2nd Canadian Armoured Brigade had already boarded the ships to be landed on the beaches on the morning of June the 6th.
Also, by the end of the day on the 6th, the 3rd Canadian Division had achieved the majority of its objectives and had made it further inland than any of the Allies.
These boys had found the courage to endure the fierce and frightening battle. Their determination had pushed them forward to beat the most highly regarded military machine of the 20th century, the German panzers.
The defeat of the Germans at Juno Beach led Canada back on the path of becoming one of the most elite fighting forces in the world, similar to their victory at Vimy Ridge during World War I.
This victory did not come at a small price, though. 14,000 Canadians landed in Normandy on D-Day, and to ensure the victory, 340 Canadians had died fighting to do so. Another 574 had been wounded and 47 were taken prisoner.
No one had expected the Canadians to make it as far as they did. We had broken through the Atlantic Wall and smashed the first line of German defenses. This was a major step in the winning of World War II.
Sir, he's alive.
It worked?
Yeah, he's breathing. He's gonna live.
What would happen if it didn't?
Well, these things here, I mean, thinking president,
The discovery and purification of insulin, the hormone produced by the pancreas, was credited to Dr. Frederick Banting and his assistant, Charles Best. The discovery of insulin was extremely important to the medical world and has saved countless lives since 1922.
As you just saw, the first treatment of insulin was less than perfect. Leonard Thompson, who was just 14 years old at the time, was injected with an insulin extract on January 11, 1922. The treatment worked, but caused an allergic reaction, which stopped the treatment temporarily.
Dr. Banting and Mr. Best had not just tested on people, though. They regularly removed the pancreases of dogs to test their insulin extracts. Sadly, many of these tests did not work, and a lot of dogs died in the process of saving people's lives.
That is sad, Devin, but also necessary to advance the world of science and medicine. After 12 days of further testing and purification, Leonard Thompson was injected with a second dose of insulin, which was completely successful.
Once insulin was ready to be dispensed, Dr. Banting and Mr. Best went into a children's hospital where they were keeping diabetic kids and gave them all shots of insulin, saving all of their lives.
That was one of the most dramatic moments in Canadian medical history. It also caught the attention of the Eli Lilly and Company drug firm, who convinced Banting and Best to let them produce insulin, and they have helped develop it into what it is today, a life-saving medication that is used by every diabetic person abroad.
The construction of the Canada Pacific Railroad played a major role in the development of Canada as a nation, as well as developing Canada's economy and a physical connection between all of the provinces.
I definitely agree with you there, Ian. Without the Canada Pacific Railroad, I do not know where Canada would be today. It might have all worked out, but the CPR was a major catalyst for change.
Yes, for example, during the confederation of this great nation, originally the maritime provinces were promised a railroad link to Canadian central provinces. When British Columbia was invited to join Confederation, they would only join with the promise of a railroad to connect them to the east within 10 years.
This railroad was not quite completed in 10 years, but they did come pretty close. It was completed in November of 1885.
Now that the two ends of the country are connected, it made a big difference to settlers who were looking to farm on the prairies. The Canadian Pacific Railroad even sold land to settlers for $2.50 an acre.
As we move into the 20th century, the CPR would have a big role to play in Canada's war effort. During World War II, the Canadian Pacific Railroad moved 307 million tons of freight, 86 million passengers, which included 280,000 military personnel.
The Canadian Pacific Railroad still plays a big role today, transporting goods all across Canada. Its own railroads throughout the United States, and it is one of the largest companies in Canada with a market value of around $7 billion.
The Canadian Pacific Railroad has had an impact, and will continue to have an impact, on Canada.
The upcoming clip is on Sir Sanford Fleming.
Train! If only a clock was set correctly!
on! Dang it!
Everyone knows that there are time zones. The world has 24 of them, which are used to synchronize clocks and make things easier to schedule. However, a lot of people do not know that a Canadian invented this system.
You got that one there. Sir Sanford Fleming, who was an engineer working for the Canada Pacific Railway, invented the 24 time zone concept after he came up with the idea for a standardized local time when he missed a train.
Yeah, so everybody watching, the introduction of time zones basically changed how the world kept time. Devin will tell you a little more.
Before standard time, most places kept time by using the sun, which is fine until you are traveling through many of these different locales very quickly, such as when you are riding on a train.
This made scheduling things a pain for everybody, because no one knew exactly what time it was. It was only constant within every local area.
So when the idea of standard time was proposed, it was great. Everyone would know precisely when they were departing and when they were arriving.
There are untold economic benefits to this, especially in the business world. It allowed people to better plan their days when they were traveling, resulting in more working hours.
Exactly. And in addition to this, fewer important meetings would be missed because your watch was still set to Ottawa time when you were just traveling to Toronto.
One more thing. Weather forecasting has also improved because everyone would know when weather events were supposed to happen. Well, as long as the weatherman was right.
The system was so good that it is still being used today, albeit with a few small changes, such as the addition of daylight saving or summertime.
Thanks for watching. We hope you will tune in next time to the ultimate, but brief, Canadian history experience.